14 months ago, Michael Carrick was unemployed, sacked, dismissed by Middlesbrough, a mid-table championship club, in June 2025 after they finished 10th in England's second division and missed the playoffs. No Premier League club came for him, no Champions League club called. His managerial career, by every conventional measure, was going backwards. Today, that same man is the permanent head coach of Manchester United, with a contract to 2028, a Champions League campaign starting in September, and the single best points per game record of any manager in England over the second half of last season. And here is the strange part. Almost nobody believes in him. Listen to the pundits this pre-season. Arsenal are champions and 6-4 favourites to go back-to-back. Manchester City are beginning life after Pep Guardiola and sit second in the market. Liverpool have Andoni Iraola and a point to prove. And United are the polite footnote. Lovely story, great half-season, but it's a small sample. They'll regress. Wait until the Champions League games pile up. Since the odds opened in July, United have actually drifted from 6-1 out to 13-2, while Chelsea have shortened. The market watched United finish third, watched them beat every member of the so-called Big Six that mattered, and quietly decided it was a fluke. This video is the case for why that is the single laziest assumption in English football right now. Not a hot take, a case built on facts, on numbers, and on one statistic from last season that almost nobody is saying out loud. Stay to the end, because the last section is the one the doubters will not want to hear. Before Carrick's story, before the transfers, before Bruno Fernandes, start with a number. 39. That is the number of Premier League points Manchester United collected from the moment Michael Carrick took charge in January until the end of the season. 17 league matches, 12 wins, 3 draws, 2 defeats, 39 points from a possible 51. Now put that number in context, because context is where it stops being a nice stat and starts being a warning to the rest of the league. 39 points in that period was more than any other club in England collected, more than Manchester City, and yes, more than Arsenal, the team that actually won the title. Arsenal finished the season as champions on 85 points, and across the stretch of the season that Carrick managed, United outpointed them. Stretch Carrick's rate across a full campaign and it comes to roughly 2.29 points per game, an 87-point pace. Arsenal won the title with 85, the second lowest winning total since Leicester City's 81 in 2015. To 16. In other words, over 17 matches Carrick's United played at a rate that would have won last season's Premier League. And during that same stretch, no club in the division scored more goals than they did. This was not a soft run either. Under Carrick, United beat Manchester City. They beat Arsenal. They beat Liverpool. They beat Chelsea. Harry Maguire admitted that when Carrick walked in with Arsenal and City as two of the first fixtures, everyone inside the dressing room feared the worst. United took 6 points from those games, and Maguire said that from that moment, the belief never left. Remember where they started. Under Ruben Amorim, United had produced their worst ever Premier League finish, 15th the season before. Amorim was dismissed on January 5th, 2026, after a breakdown with the club's hierarchy, with United sitting just outside the top 5. Darren Fletcher held the fort for 8 days. Then Carrick arrived, and a drifting season became a 71-point third-place finish, a 29-point improvement year on year, the biggest leap by any club in the division, and a return to the Champions League after a 2-year absence. So the question that should define United's season is simple. Was that half-season the illusion? Or was the previous decade the illusion? Be honest about how the football world treated this appointment, because the scepticism was loud, and it has not gone away. When Carrick was named interim in January, the reaction was that United had gone cheap and sentimental. A club legend with no top-flight managerial record, sacked by a championship side 7 months earlier, handed the biggest job in English football because the hierarchy could not agree on anything better. ESPN openly framed the permanent appointment in May as a gamble after 13 years of failed hires since Sir Alex Ferguson walked away in 2013. Moyes, Van Gaal, Mourinho, Solskjaer, Rangnick, Ten Hag, Amorim. 7 managers, 1 broken succession. But look at what Carrick actually is, rather than what his CV looks like. As a player, he won 5 Premier League titles, the 2008 Champions League, the Europa League, the FA Cup, and 2 League Cups at this club. He spent years on the coaching staff under Mourinho and Solskjaer, learning the building from the inside. And in his first caretaker spell in late 2021, after Ole Gunnar Solskjaer was sacked, he took 3 matches and did not lose one of them, winning away at Villarreal in the Champions League and beating Arsenal in his final game before stepping aside. At Middlesbrough, he inherited a team in the bottom half of the Championship in October 2022 and dragged them to 4th and the playoffs inside 8 months. The ending was ugly, a 10th place finish and the sack in 2025, and no honest video hides that. But United's decision-makers, Chief Executive Omar Barada and Director of Football Jason Wilcox, watched 16 league matches of evidence at the highest level and made the only rational call. 11 wins from those first 16. The permanent contract, signed on 22nd May, runs to 2028. And the players talk about him in a way United players have not talked about a manager in years. Andre Santos, on the day he signed, called Carrick the perfect coach to take his career forward. Diogo Dalot spent the spring warning teammates not to take the Champions League for granted, describing ugly, gritty wins as the identity Carrick had instilled. Now the honest counterpoint, stated fairly because a script that hides it is propaganda. 17 league games is 17 league games. New manager bounces are real, they are common, and they fade. Carrick has never managed a full season in the Premier League. His only European experience as a manager is 3 caretaker matches 5 years ago. And the fixture list he is about to face includes a minimum of 6 extra Champions League nights against the best teams on the continent. Every one of those points is legitimate. Hold them in your head while you hear what comes next. Here is the part of the story that looks like a weakness and might be the opposite. United's summer so far. In Youri Tielemans from Aston Villa, a £35 million release clause triggered quickly and quietly, a 29-year-old with 7 years of Premier League experience on a 5-year deal. Andre Santos from Chelsea for £48 million, a 22-year-old Brazil international midfielder signed until 2031. Karl Darlow on a free as the veteran backup to Senna Lamens. 2 teenagers, Tynan Thompson from Tottenham's academy for £4 million, and Christian Orozco from Colombia for under £1 million. Out Casemiro, gone to Inter Miami at the end of his contract after 160 appearances. Rasmus Højlund, sold permanently to Napoli for £44 million after his loan, there triggered a clause. Jadon Sancho released, the end of a £73 million disaster. Tyrell Malaysia released. Andre Onana loaned back out to Trabzonspor for a second season. Total spend, roughly £88 million. Net spend, roughly £44 million. In a summer where Manchester City paid £116 million for Elliot Anderson and Chelsea paid £117 million for Morgan Rogers, United's entire net outlay is a third of one rival signing. The left wing still needs a body, with Marcus Rashford back from his Barcelona loan and his future genuinely unresolved. Left-back depth behind Luke Shaw is thin. It is nearly the middle of August, the window shuts on 1st September, and that is not a finished squad. So why call it a possible strength? Because United already did their spending a year early. In the summer of 2025, the club committed more than £200 million to a brand new front line. Benjamin Sesko from Leipzig, Brian Mbomo from Brentford, Matheus Cunha from Wolves. That attack delivered. Sesko and Mbomo finished last season as United's joint top scorers with 11 league goals each, and during Carrick's spell, nobody in England outscored his team. This summer's business is not a rebuild because the rebuild already happened. Tielemans and Santos are surgical replacements for Casemiro's legs, the one department that was visibly aging. Everything else Carrick asked to keep, he kept. Compare that to the 2 winters United fans have lived through, where every new manager demanded a new squad, and you see the actual story. For the first time in over a decade, Manchester United are adding to something instead of starting again. Now the argument that separates United from every rival, and it hides in a fact that sounded like an embarrassment when it was first reported. Last season, Manchester United were on course for their fewest matches in a campaign since 1914-15. Out of the FA Cup in the 3rd round. Out of the League Cup in the 2nd round. No European football at all. For a club of United size, it was called a humiliation. A glaring void of midweek nights. Flip it around. While Arsenal, City, Liverpool and Chelsea ground through 50 and 60-game seasons, United's players spent a full year training under one coaching plan with a free week between almost every match. Carrick had something no United manager has had since Ferguson: time on the training pitch. That is where an 18-game surge is manufactured. Then came the summer, and the advantage got bigger. About a dozen United players went to the World Cup in North America, and the club's two most important attackers were not among them. Slovenia failed to qualify, so Benjamin Sesko spent June and July resting. Cameroon failed to qualify, so Brian Mbeumo did the same. Harry Maguire was left out by Thomas Tuchel and made his feelings known. But the football consequence is that United's entire first-choice frontline reports for pre-season fresh, while Arsenal and City wait for finalists and semi-finalists to trickle back from a tournament that only ended on July 19th, when Spain beat Argentina in extra time in New Jersey. And then there is the fixture computer, which has handed Carrick a gift. Sky Sports called United's first 6 games statistically the easiest opening run in the league. Newly promoted Hull City away on 22nd August. Newly promoted Ipswich at home. Everton away. The first genuine test is the Manchester derby at Old Trafford on 12th September. In the same week, United return to the Champions League. The away trips to Chelsea, Liverpool and Arsenal all come before New Year, and then every one of those teams must come to Old Trafford inside a 35-day window between January and February. The run-in is even kinder. None of last season's Champions League qualifiers appear in United's final 8 fixtures, which close at home to Fulham. Fresh legs, a settled system, a soft launch, and a run-in built for a chase. Title races have been won on less. Every version of this season runs through one man, so deal with him directly. Bruno Fernandes was the Footballer of the Year. Both of them, in fact, the FWA award, the first by a United player since Wayne Rooney in 2009-10, and the Premier League Player of the Season, the first by a United player since Nemanja Vidic in 2010-11. He beat Declan Rice to the FWA vote by 28 votes and saw off Erling Haaland for the league's own award. And look at how he did it. 8 goals and 20 assists in the Premier League, 20. That equals the all-time single-season record in the competition's history, held jointly by Thierry Henry and Kevin De Bruyne. A 31-year-old central midfielder in a team that started the season 15th and drifting matched the greatest creative campaign anyone has ever produced in this league. He had refused a fortune from Saudi Arabia the previous summer to stay and see it through. Then he went to the World Cup and started for a Portugal side built around a 41-year-old Cristiano Ronaldo, and came back, as ever, without the international medal his club form deserves. Here is the uncomfortable detail underneath the celebration. Bruno turns 32 in September, and his contract runs to 2027, which makes this his final guaranteed season at the club, with no extension announced. Luke Shaw, who remarkably started every league game last season, is approaching the same cliff. United's spine has been magnificent, and United's spine is aging on exactly the timeline of Carrick's 2-year deal. That is why this season matters so much more than a normal transition year. The Sesko and Mbeumo Cunha frontline is young. Santos, Lenny Yoro, Patrick Dorgu, Kobbie Mainoo, Ahmad and Lamins are the next core. But the bridge between the future and a trophy is Bruno's next 10 months. If Carrick's United are going to win something, the window is not some distant project. The window is now, while the best playmaker in England is still the best playmaker in England. State the counter case properly, because it is strong. First, regression. Half-season miracles are the most reliably misleading pattern in football. United's 87-point pace was built on 17 games. Champions are built on 38. The moment results wobble, this squad has 13 years of scar tissue waiting to reopen. Second, the calendar. United go from the fewest matches in a century to a Champions League phase. Domestic cups they will be expected to take seriously, and a squad that, beyond the first 14 or 15 names, is unproven at that combined load. The freshness advantage of last season is a one-time gift, and it is already spent. Third, The market has watched all of this and moved the other way. Arsenal 6-4, City 11-4, even while replacing Guardiola, Liverpool 5-1, United drifting to 13-2 with Chelsea closing in behind. Professional money is saying the third place finish flattered them. The bookmakers' base case is a top 4 scrap, not a title challenge. And fourth, the ghosts. Every United revival since 2013 has been declared the real one. Van Gaal won an FA Cup and was sacked within days. Mourinho finished second and imploded within months. Solskjaer's bounce was the template for false dawns. Ten Hag won the League Cup and the FA Cup, was handed a contract extension and was sacked 9 games into the following season with United 14th. The burden of proof is on United and on Carrick, not on the doubters. That is the fair reading of history, and no honest fan should pretend otherwise. So can Manchester United win the Premier League in 2026-27? The honest answer, it is not the likeliest outcome. Arsenal on 85 points with the best defence in the league and a settled champion core are favourites for a reason, and United are asking a manager with 17 top-flight league games behind him to outlast them across 38+ Europe. But the likeliest outcome is not the interesting question. The interesting question is, which Manchester United is real? The one that spent a decade lurching between saviours, or the one that, from January to May, took more points than the champions, beat every rival it faced, kept its record scorers fresh all summer, and enters August with the easiest opening 6 fixtures in the division, and its 2 hardest home games scheduled for the exact month its rivals hit Champions League congestion. If the 39 points were real, this is a title contender hiding at 13-2, and the first true evidence arrives on September 12th, when a post-Guardiola Manchester City walk into Old Trafford. If the 39 points were a mirage, we will know that quickly too, and Carrick's contract to 2028 will start to look like what the cynics always said it was. Either way, understand what has actually happened here. A man who was sacked by Middlesbrough 14 months ago now holds the best recent points record in England. A rebuilt £200 million attack, a rested squad, a kind calendar, and the double footballer of the year wearing his armband. The rest of the league is treating that as a nice story. It might be the biggest mistake any of them make all season.